The franchise recap is on season 32. I think the most polarizing and hard to grade season ever, Final Reckoning. Airing July to December 2018, the culmination of the trilogy saw 34 cast members head to South Africa for 20 episodes, 2 reunions of pure chaos battling for the reinstated $1 million prize. Evolutions were in the format, and it was a lot of shambles. Double crosses in the Redemption House just to get a shot to play to get back in the game. Lots of those moments and redemption re-entries. Mercenaries that could win their way into the game and did. And regular purges at the dailies with last place folks going straight to redemption or home. Good luck keeping track this season. From a storyline perspective, it feels truly like the culmination of the trilogy because it has the hallmarks of what Dirty 30 started, vendettas amplified, and now it feels like Final Reckoning is on steroids of the season that is just such a chaotic mess, but a wonderful cast, unbelievable amounts of drama, super entertaining, but then the format just being completely confusing and utterly a disaster. And putting those two things together, it's like there's a really amazing season here, and then there's a lot of things to be kind of upset and annoyed by. Let's go through all of it. So again, the cast itself, a fantastic mix of different eras. The UK group is definitely here and bringing it and loving everything we're getting from them. A lot of good new faces, a lot of kind of era 2, era 3, and a couple OGs mixed in having an impact as well. Most of the flops of this season leave early, which is a hallmark of a really good season, is when the folks we don't really care that much about or aren't going to provide that much go home early, and all of the chaos remains until the end. That kind of happens here. We're left with a pretty incredible group near the end, and we get a stretch from episode 13 to 17, really even 18, where no one leaves for those like 3 or 4 episodes. So the show had finally figured that part out of like the more cast members that are there at the end, the more we might still remain interested. So that is one benefit of the format of this season. Mostly, though, the casting came down to we've got Team Young Buck and Lavender Ladies on one side against Bananas and whoever he can recruit over on his side. He's got a few allies left, but he is definitely in the minority versus the Young Buck Lavender Ladies alliance, and that is one of the big rivalries of the season. And speaking of it, it is kind of Rivals 5. Vendettas is kind of Rivals 4. This is kind of Rivals 5. Then the teams do hold up. You need the Rivals teams to hold up in a Rivals-esque season. And Nelson and Shane stands out as a really wonderful and interesting pairing that has a cool story. Cara and Marie. One, it was really hard to say their name all season. Just, Cara Maria, and Cara is paired with Marie. It was really confusing. Still kind of is. Zach and Amanda, fantastic. Devon and Jose, fantastic. A bunch of these pairings made a true sense and felt like real rivals and had interesting arcs between them through the season. Romantically, there was somewhat limited this season. Brad and Brittany were still doing their thing and definitely having lies told about them. We'll touch on that in a second. Cara and Paulie begins this season. He maybe or maybe doesn't have a girlfriend back home. They maybe or maybe do hook up on this season or just do some platonic cuddling, what have you. Kyle's there. That whole storyline between the three of them kicks off and obviously runs for multiple seasons and wears thin by the end. The editing team at fault of that one, not the people themselves. And then there's also Joss and Amanda just being hot and hooking up like it's supposed to be. Old school, just you're hot, I'm hot, this sounds fun, let's go do that. And it's not dramatic or not anything at all. It's just good casual fun. Competitively, let's touch on the format again. We already said it's a complete and utter mess, all the evolutions that were involved in it. There's a couple things worked against it. It's hard to do it right when you do the mixed gender seasons. And this was, as mixed up as we had ever gotten, as far as some male teams, some female, some male, just a complete and utter, disregard for, pairing the teams up, which it brings all these pairings we wouldn't otherwise get. It's interesting, but it is just a higher degree of difficulty to pull off and make work. In this one, they don't do a very good job of matching that and making all of the dailies, all the limbs, everything about it work super well. The nonstop purges are a bit grating. It seems like almost every daily challenge comes with last place goes to redemption. I don't super love that in a challenge game. Maybe you do. I don't know. But that combined with the nonstop redemption reentry and how that went about, not everyone gets a chance to double cross for 2 of you to get a chance. that part also just, it seems too much. Like they went too far, they pushed, they're like, we have to keep innovating, making it different, bigger, bolder, and ultimately it went too far, at least for me. And then the final challenge itself is a pretty awful format. It's not really well thought out. I don't think it works almost at all. Obviously, super memorable moment at the end. We will get to that in a moment. Everything else, though, about the competition was really, really great. The dailies and the elims were solid, like good to great all the way through. Liked a lot of them, loved a few of them. When they worked, I should say. There's a few that needed literally redone because they broke on the fly. Those ones we'll touch on, I think, both of them here coming up, but were, tainted a little bit. And then you had the three teams that maybe should have won or could have won if not for one thing or the other. Starting with Zach and Amanda, if there was a dominant team of the season, it's them. They win 4 of the dailies. They, have both sides of that alliance there with Lavender Ladies for Amanda and Zach being with Tony and Bananas. And if they could have just got along, I really think they would have won this season. But they famously not only treat each other like shit throughout. Zach really, really saying some things about Amanda throughout the season that I definitely think a lot of fans were not super thrilled with. But their chaos is mostly entertaining until, still entertaining when they get to the point when they have to make the decision as the power team, pick between two teams to throw into elimination. And famously, Zach just tries to strong arm, is like, we're not doing my friends, we're doing your friends. And Amanda says, no. What if I say no too? They leave it to TJ, who says, if you can't decide, you're coming in. And both of them stick to it and they go in and then they lose. And if not, I, again, think they probably win this season if they could just get along a little bit. Another team that was pretty dominant, Joss and Sylvia, do get second. I think Joss is maybe the most dominant player all season long for the second season in a row, really shows out. And ultimately, I think they win the final, if not for the last grenade. Again, the grenades in the final, I hated that. But Paulie and Natalie go back on the deal that the two teams had made, where Joss and Sylvia literally stopped competing in one of the legs over this deal, and then it comes back to haunt them when Paulie and Natalie throw the grenade on them. The final one that ultimately, I think time-wise, matches up to literally cost them the win in the end. And then the third team that doesn't win, but could have, is Bananas and Tony, who do great. They're a late entry. Bananas and Devin were supposed to be partners on this season, which would have been amazing. But unfortunately, the passing of Devin's father prolonged when he was going to enter the game. He ultimately does with Corey later on. But Bananas and Tony are together, still very worthwhile after last season, Tony pulling the betrayal. And they do great. They navigate. They play from behind a little bit. And ultimately, they get screwed too. Go listen to the two of them's podcast together where they recount the entire story. But the short version is this. The elimination they lose versus Natalie and Paulie is not the first elimination, is not the actual elimination they were meant to play. It literally completely broke after they had already been doing it, and Tony and Bananas were well in the lead. And when it all broke, they had to come back the next day and do a completely different modified version that resulted in the hands over your head standoff between Natalie and Bananas. That resulted in Natalie beating Bananas, kicking Bananas and Tony out of the game after 5 hours. Unbelievable performance. It takes nothing away from the unreal performance of Natalie, and honestly, unreal performance and a losing effort for Bananas. It's insane how long they stood there. But that wasn't the game they were supposed to play. They had kind of already played the first version, and Bananas and Tony had already won. And I think if they're in the final, they get the job done. Other memorable moments, then, there's a bunch to go through. We'll try to do so quickly leading up to the two that actually do win the season. First and foremost, South Africa just delivers as a location every single time. It's beautiful. The backdrop's wonderful. Love being there. Kayla and Melissa are the first of many DQs early in the season. They get in each other's face. There's a shove. There's maybe a neck grab. Both are DQ'd. It's a tough call. We're in the era of some get DQ'd, some don't. Who's to say what are the exact rules are, what the exact infringements are? These two leave, but at least their partners don't have to leave. They're like, Kaylee and Cam, you guys could be rivals too. Go ahead. You guys go together. This was the season Challenge Twitter, as far as the cast members are considered, really took off in my mind, in large part thanks to Shane. Shane was trolling people all season long in the house. He was doing a lot of trolling on Twitter as well throughout the season. The Kyle hair transplant picture. I think he changed his name to something about Devon before the reunion, all kinds of stuff. He was all-time troll this season, and this was the one that I kind of remember as like, okay, now the cast members are all talking throughout the season, giving the context as we watch the episodes. Then we had Paulie. He yelled at a lot of people this season, a lot at Kyle. But Kyle's partner, Brad, gets the brunt of one of it when Paulie goes to the Redemption House and decides Chuck and Brittany are there. He comes back in to compete in an elimination game, loses, but on his way out, gets to throw a lie in there of, Brad, your girlfriend is hooking up with her ex in the Redemption House, which was a lie as far as we know. And I think Paulie even blatantly says it was just a lie, just to stir shit up, just to have fun. That's a whole meltdown. There's a super dangerous but downright exhilarating elimination called Think Tank, where Devon and Kaylee essentially are asked to drown themselves in freezing water over and over so their partners can finish a puzzle. That one was wild. Cara and Bananas worked together on this season, and that's just notable because I didn't think we would be seeing that happen really at any time. I mentioned Shane and Nelson earlier. They stand out as one of the big teams that like have a hilarious chemistry the entire time, do really dislike each other, but they find a way to get along. They have some interesting kind of humanizing moments between the two of them. Corey famously gets he and Devin after they win their way in very late in the game, like 12 episodes in. They have to win 2 eliminations. They do to get in the game, but then a couple episodes later, Tony throws Corey's leftover pasta that we don't know where he got from out the bus window. Corey eventually body slams Tony over this and gets he and Devin removed from the game. Another team that very likely could have done really well in this final. And then that final, of course, caps off with the big moment. Ashley and Hunter, they were the first mercenary team to come in and win their way into the game. They did very well from that point on. They hated each other from that point on. Hunter said a lot of horrible things at Ashley's expense. She said some horrible things too, but his quantity was, even if their quality was anywhere near each other in horrible things, his quantity was up there as far as what was being said to his partner, who then gets the last laugh, literally, when she is asked if she wants to steal the entire $1 million prize from him instead of splitting it, which she does. Very famous moment. Huge meltdown from Hunter, deservedly so. The things that are said during it, not deserved on Ashley's part, but the meltdown itself over losing $500,000 is probably pretty deserved. And I know I said back on the Rivals 3 that I feel slightly different about this stealing of the money than that stealing of the money. And it comes down to this. Did Ashley deserve to be like, dude, you have said and done some amazingly nasty things to me, so fuck you, and I'm taking all the money? Absolutely, of course. Very justifiable. Very, very good. The only reason I feel a little different about it, and I know this is bullshit, it probably shouldn't matter in these decisions, but to me it kind of does, is one, I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for Hunter on these shows. And 2, it's mostly just that, like, when Banana steals it from Sarah, it's a smaller amount and she had just won and she had been on a lot of seasons. And I didn't feel that her financial situation was, it would have been dramatically changed by another 250,000 or whatever that amount was, but it wasn't in dire straits. And I felt like in this one, we kind of knew the backstory of both Hunter and Ashley, and that this really was even the 500,000 was like life-changing variety in a big, big way. And so while yes, his attitude towards her and his actions did not deserve for her to be like, you know what, let's put it all behind us and split the money. I just felt like, yeah, I get why this was like, I thought I had done the life-changing thing, and then it was ripped away from me, and I know it was partially because of my actions. And then I also just want to throw on at the end, the eating portion of that final is where this team gets their lead that they ultimately keep. And I know Tony's the big eater. He has it on this season. He has it on the previous one. But Hunter in the final, the eating display he puts on is, I think, the reason why they win the final, which is the other reason. So I'm just a little more sympathetic, but I totally get it. They're both winners. That is an important thing to say. Some people try to say Hunter isn't a challenge champion. He is, same as Sarah is, same as anyone else in the future who gets money stolen from them. But Ashley's now millionaire Mitchell, and it's an iconic moment. Vendettas and Final Reckoning, and really even Dirty 30, the whole trilogy, they go together so well because they all feature such great drama, chaotic entertainment, really well mixed cast eras-wise, but are tarnished by just the sloppiest of formats. And like I said before, Final Reckoning is the on steroids version of that. It is the true culmination. It's an unreal cast for how they operated together. There's so much drama. There's so much mess. It is fascinating, interesting, entertaining. I never know what the hell is going to happen in the next episode, the next scene, the next segment. But it's also probably the worst formatted and operated season ever. There is absurd rules. There is multiple daily challenges that are broken. There is multiple eliminations that are broken and they have to redo on the fly, including the one I detailed with Bananas and Natalie. They have to just, it's just, the finals lackluster, the grenades in the finals that kind of changed the outcome at the end, the whole thing. It's just such a mess on both sides. And I have nowhere to really put it other than I'm going to give it a B+. I'm going to put it in the bottom of the great tier, but I get why some people out there say this is the best season ever. This is an A, and others say this is a joke. This is such a mess. This is fucking F. I get it. Because pending what you're looking for in a challenge season, this is either the best season of all time. If you're just looking, I just want to be entertained by a complete shit show of a reality television show. Great. You think this is maybe the best season ever. If you're like, I would like a competition that feels fair and balanced and has interesting competitive elements to it, this is not the season for you. So I get it. Wherever you want to put it, you're probably right. I'm probably right. It belongs in all parts of the grading scale, but I'm putting it in the bottom of the great tier for now with a B+. Thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow for War of the Worlds 1. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the upcoming Battle of the Eras coverage.